Now let's check out what happens in the remainder of the first season of Solo Leveling. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We see Jinwoo overcomes his fear to evade the wolf's attack and punches the monster with all his might, knocking it down. He then tries to run away but suddenly recalls having a sword in his inventory. And just like that, Jinwoo slices the monster in half. Soon enough, he notices that his wounds have healed, but more wolves appear before him. Jinwoo then overcomes his fear and swings his sword like a top G player of Fruit Ninja. Seeing this, the other wolf decides to retreat. After surviving that life-threatening situation, Jinwoo saw in the system that he was leveling up. Not long after, Jinwoo starts wondering how he can clear the dungeon, thinking he isn't strong enough to defeat the boss. Nonetheless, he still decides to proceed, believing that if he can level up quickly, he can clear the dungeon. As he continues clearing the dungeon, Jinwoo notices that his sword is about to break. He checks his inventory, and he realizes that he has already acquired the teleportation stone. Despite having that item, Jinwoo decides to stay in the dungeon, and he heads deeper, slaughtering the monsters along the way. Soon enough, he senses the presence of the dungeon boss, and he decides to be a true Giga Chad and fights it without hesitations. While fighting the dungeon boss, his sword gets broken, which puts him in a tough situation. However, his determination to become stronger gives him an extreme drive to win and survive. And just like that, he defeats the dungeon boss and receives an OP dagger as a reward. After clearing the dungeon, Jinwoo exits the subway and wonders where everyone has gone. Not long after, Jinwoo learns about the dungeon break, but all of the monsters have been defeated except for the boss. The hunters struggle against the golem because of its strong defense that makes none of their attacks work. Jinwoo realizes that Juhi is with them, and she still hasn't gotten over the trauma from their double dungeon exploration. The hunters are about to get overwhelmed, but Jinwoo launches his broken sword with incredible strength and defeats the golem with a one-hit attack. One of the hunters wonders how they were able to defeat it, because their attacks weren't working at all. He sees the sword on the ground, so he inquires about its owner. Then, a soldier pinpoints Jinwoo, but he's nowhere to be found, and we see that he has already left the scene, because he wasn't expecting his attack to have such an impact. As Jinwoo continues his workout routine in the hospital, a nurse enters his room and sees his beach body. She informs Jinwoo that he's going to be discharged and gets his number to wet her dry seasons. Elsewhere, S-rank hunter Baek Yoonho is invited as a special guest on a TV show. The interviewer asks him if he can let her experience the true joy of plot development, and Yoonho tells her that he surely put a white on her smile. Meanwhile, Jinwoo puts the umbrellas on Gina's bag when she leaves for school, reminding her to always be careful. While Jinwoo proceeds to check his status in the system, the landlord calls about monthly dues. Suddenly, he sees a high-paying job for rank E hunters, so he rushes over to the location and completes his daily quest along the way. He meets a hunter named Hwang Dong-suk, who explains the contract of agreement with the party. Jinwoo accepts the job, but he finds it strange that the party has no healer. Meanwhile, a newbie hunter Yoo Jinho approaches him, revealing that he also accepted the job, and making everyone feel impressed with his very expensive equipment. They enter the gate and realize the dungeon is too dark, so the mage Cho Kyuan lightens up the area. As they head deeper into the dungeon, they hear monsters approaching, so everyone prepares for battle. Jinwoo warns them about the enemies approaching from above, and they're able to respond on time, defeating the monsters in the process. Jinwoo is glad that everyone is doing well, but he admits that he's frustrated because the job is too easy. As they continue searching for magic gems, Kiwon notes that the ants have bite marks, thinking they were attacked by a more powerful monster. Jinho is happy about his first mission, but Jinwoo warns him to be cautious because he can sense that there's something wrong with their party. At the White Tiger Guild, the hunters are working out in the gym when they notice an explosion caused by Baek after punching a massive hole into a boulder. Back at the dungeon, Jinwoo continues to carry the luggage for the group, but he still thinks that Dong-suk's party is suspicious. As they move deeper, they reach an area surrounded by mana crystals, and they get excited thinking they're going to be rich. Jinho reads Jinwoo's contract, and he explains that the crystals don't count as drop items, so Jinwoo must receive a portion of it. Dong-suk agrees and suggests mining the crystals before they deal with the dungeon boss, knowing it's still sleeping. Dong-suk explains that they left their mining tools, so they need to leave the dungeon to get them. After leaving Jinwoo and Jinho inside, Dong-suk orders Kyuhwan to block the path of the entrance. Jinwoo realizes that they have been betrayed, as he recalls that the crime rate for dungeon raids is high, because there's no way to tell if a hunter has been murdered inside. Jinho blames himself for talking about the contract, but Jinwoo knows that Dong-suk's party was planning to kill them from the very beginning. The dungeon boss approaches them, and Jinho promises to protect Jinwoo at all costs. Jinwoo believes that he's no match for it, but he recalls his encounter with the statue of God and thinks that the spider is nothing compared to it. Now, Jinwoo tells Jinho to stand back as he prepares to fight the boss. Dong-suk's party wonders why they're using the dungeon boss to eliminate 2 weaklings. He then explains that he didn't want to risk waking it up, and plans to feed it to the monster and attack it when it falls asleep again. Jinho thinks that Jinwoo doesn't stand a chance because he's just an E-rank hunter. Jinwoo charges in, attacking with overwhelming speed. Elsewhere, Go Gunhee is picked up by Woo Jinchul. Jinchul then invites Gunhee to a sparring match, thinking it will help him unwind. Back at the dungeon, Jinho starts realizing that Jinwoo is a false ranker, for there's no way he is an E-rank hunter. Jinwoo tries to cut the spider's legs, but he realizes that its armor is too tough. Despite having a hard time, Jinwoo still gave his all and used his obtained dagger's special abilities to end the fight. The system notifies Jinwoo that the boss has been defeated, while Jinho can't believe his eyes, thinking he was right about him being a false ranker. Jinho tells Jinwoo to relax as he mines the crystals before the dungeon closes. Elsewhere, Jinchul struggles to hit Gunhee, and he blocks a devastating blow that concludes the sparring match. Jinchul thanks Gunhee for his guidance, saying he's amazing because he's incredibly strong for his age. On the other hand, Gunhee tells Jinchul that his moves have improved.
What's really remarkable is how much your defense has improved.
Advising him not to neglect his training, because it will help him survive dangerous situations. At the dungeon, Dong-suk's party arrives, realizing that the boss has been defeated. They think Jinho is the one who killed it, and Dong-suk tells him to eliminate Jinwoo, saying they will spare his life if he obeys them. But Jinho refuses to follow their order, and he prepares to fight them. They start approaching them, but Jinwoo suddenly receives an urgent quest from the system, telling him to eliminate them. Jinwoo is very surprised to see that the system is telling him to kill people. Suddenly, Q-Wan attacks him, blowing him away. Elsewhere, some female adventurers meet to know how everyone is doing so far. One of them revealed that they entered an A-rank dungeon to train.
Miss Cha led you through an A-rank dungeon, right?
But it was cleared in an instant because Cha Hai-in easily defeated the dungeon boss. They even talk about a rumor saying there are teams with an abnormally high casualty rate. Back at the dungeon, everyone thinks that Jinwoo is dead, but of course, he's still alive. He then recalls that he lives in a world where only the strong survive. He's about to lose consciousness but realizes that the system wants him to survive. He gets back up and tells them to be ready to face the consequences as he unleashes an ominous aura. Dong-suk's party approaches him, reminding him that he's just an E-rank hunter, but he suddenly slices the man's head off. Everyone is shocked to see this, and Jinwoo realizes that he just ended a human life. Dong-suk's party attacks him, but he manages to defend himself, eliminating them one by one as they try to end his life. Q-Wan tries to blast him again with his magic, but he suddenly disappears and lands a counterattack, taking him out in an instant. Dong-suk freaks out, realizing that Jinwoo is hiding his true powers. That said, Dong-suk uses his skill to strengthen his body because he believes that Jinwoo relies only on his speed. He believes that Jinwoo's attack won't work against him because his body is as hard as steel. Dong-suk tries to avenge his companions, but Jinwoo smashes him against the ground. Realizing that he doesn't stand a chance, Dong-suk starts begging for his dear life, telling Jinwoo that he can have all the crystals. Jinwoo then reminds him that no one will know what happens in the dungeon, and slices his head off. After the completion of the urgent quest, Jinwoo and Jinho come out and they report that Dong-suk's party was killed during the raid. The official believes them and she judges them based on their equipment, thinking Jinho was the one who defeated the boss, while Jinwoo did nothing to help. Soon after, Jinho thanks Jinwoo for saving his life. Jinchul receives a report about the incident, but finds it suspicious when he hears that Jinwoo is involved with it. Checking the files, he recognizes Dong-suk, the brother of an infamous S-rank hunter. Jinwoo returns home and Gina is happy to see he bought food. While thinking about the killing he did, Gina snaps him out of it. When he starts drinking beer, he realizes he can't get drunk because he received a skill that gives him immunity to status effects. Not long after, Jinwoo receives a call from Jinho. They meet up at a cafe, and Jinho suggests putting together a team with him, but Jinwoo instantly turns him down.
That's a hard pass.
Jinwoo prepares to leave, but Jinho begs him to listen. He explains to him that he's trying to become licensed as a guild master, but it requires 20 dungeon raids worth of experience. His father owns one of the country's biggest construction companies, and they are looking to form a guild. Jinho then reveals his brother can't be the guild master, because he's not an awakened hunter. He points out how they can help each other because Jinwoo can participate in dungeon raids while hiding his true power as an E-rank hunter. Jinho also offers him 30 billion won in exchange for his help on 19 more raids. Jinwoo considers the offer because he can eventually reach S rank through the dungeon raids they are to do. Despite Jinho's great offer, Jinwoo still turns it down. Meanwhile, in America, Dongsu learns the news about his brother, and he knows that his brother was murdered. That said, he plans to fly back to South Korea and execute his revenge. Elsewhere, Jinwoo goes running with his sister, and he wonders what she would do if she had $30 billion, but Gina finds it unrealistic. As Jinwoo goes to complete his daily quest, he realizes he can double the requirement, which turns out to be a secret quest. He then gets the option to receive loot boxes, and Jinwoo chooses a blessed loot box. It turns into another key, which seems to lead to the demon's castle, with S-rank difficulty. He's shocked when he sees that it contains the ingredients for the elixir of life, because it can cure any disease, which can save his mother. He opens the dungeon, revealing a flaming portal, wondering if he can take on a S-rank dungeon. Nonetheless, he saves a teleportation stone just in case things mess up. As he approaches the entrance, he's confronted by a Cerberus. Jinwoo is scared to death but determined to get stronger, so he uses his dash to approach the beast. He starts slashing at it, but it barely does any damage, so he uses his murderous intent skill but has no effect. The Cerberus overpowers him, and Jinwoo is on the verge of losing his life. He prepares to use his teleportation stone, but the Cerberus attacks again, causing him to drop it. He then decides to try the snake's poison, remembering that it has debuff immunity, so that he can eliminate the negative effect. The Cerberus attacks him, taking another bite out of him, but he still survives. He rushes at it, and he's finally able to do some damage, but the beast bites down on him, and he barely survives. He stabs the monster's eye and does it repeatedly until he manages to kill the beast. He levels up after the fight, allowing him to heal instantly, and he receives another key to unlock the demon's castle and the formula for the elixir of life, which requires 3 items from within the castle. Jinwoo realizes he needs to get stronger before he takes it on, but he swears to be back for it soon. The next day, he meets with Jinho, saying he has changed his mind. He will join the dungeon raids under the condition that the 2 of them will just be the ones to enter. Jinho then reminds him that they need 8 members to enter the C-rank dungeons, but he explains that they can just hire people to meet the requirements. Jinho also thinks it's too risky, but agrees to Jinwoo's idea anyway. Meanwhile, Hae-in is approached by a man who invites her to be the guildmaster of Jinho's guild. Elsewhere, Jinho's father, Yo Myung-an, tells him that the world has changed since the dungeons appeared, saying it can no longer maintain its infrastructure without the resources from the dungeons. Myung-an knows that the world relies on hunters, because they're the only ones who can gather the resources. Myung-an then reveals that the guilds are making a fortune because they're earning profits as the hunters gather resources. Meanwhile, Jinwoo completes his daily quest and realizes that he can no longer go beyond his requirements. Jinwoo then realizes that completing daily quests is inefficient, so he wants to fight monsters to become stronger. He considers defeating the centipede at the penalty zone, thinking it will help him level up. Not long after, the Hunters Association is looking for hunters to clear a D-rank dungeon, so he decides to join, thinking it's better than relying on daily quests alone. Elsewhere, Song Chi-yul is training his students when he suddenly receives an emergency summons from the Hunters Association. Meanwhile, Kim Sang-shik also receives the emergency summons. His wife, however, wants him to quit being a hunter, reminding him that he almost died during the last dungeon raid. At the Hunters Association, Choi Jong-in talks to Yoonho, who appears upset because Jong-in arranged the interview for him. Elsewhere, Joo-hee also receives an emergency summons after receiving a call from her mother, telling her to quit being a hunter. On the other hand, Hae-in approaches Jong-in, telling him that she's been invited as the guildmaster of Myung-han's guild, but she turns them down. When Hae-in asks why Yoonho visited, it is revealed that Jong-in told Yoonho about the unsolved Jeju Island mission, revealing that it has been sealed off after their raid failed. Jong-in expresses his desire to clear the island, asking Yoonho to help him gather allies. Elsewhere, Chi-yul encounters Jinwoo, realizing that his leg has been healed. Jinwoo explained that his leg had already healed when he woke up, so Chi-yul thought that a high-ranked healer had taken care of it. After knowing that they're going to be working together, they make their way to the portal, where they see Ju-hee, Sa-hik, and Kang Jong-ho. Ju-hee is happy to see them, but the two men fall silent because they're ashamed of what they did, knowing they sacrificed Jinwoo to save themselves. Not long after, a van arrives, and 3 convicts join them. The official reveals that they were sent by the Hunters Association to clear the dungeon because there aren't enough hunters in the area. She assures everyone that they won't cause trouble because the B-rank hunter Kang Taishik will be watching over them. Upon wondering who will be the leader of the party, Jinwoo tells Chi-yul to take the role. Chi-yul thanks Jinwoo for trusting him and saving their lives back then, and they head into the portal, ready to face what lies ahead. They're attacked by goblins, but the convicts easily defeat them. Jinwoo also eliminates some goblins, and Ju-hee mentions how she hasn't even needed to heal him. As they continued exploring, they came across a 3-way path, so they decided to form 3 groups to explore them. Moments later, Sang-hik and Jong-ho feel bad remembering how they abandoned Jinwoo, and decide to apologize to him after their mission. In a flashback, Taishik is talking to a man who complains about the 3 men who abused his daughter. His daughter ends up taking her own life, so he offers Taishik money to kill them in the dungeon. Back in the present, Taishik tells the men that they died due to a horde of attacking goblins. He easily takes them down and prepares to torture them, but Sang-hik and Jong-ho suddenly walk in on him. Meanwhile, Jinwoo remembers how he met Taishik at the hospital, hoping he doesn't recognize him. Suddenly, they hear a scream, so they rush back and find the bodies of the convicts. Jong-ho is down, and Sang-hik is in terrible condition. Ju-hee quickly tries to heal him, but Sang-hik uses his last bit of life to apologize to Jinwoo and eventually dies. Taishik attacks them, but Jinwoo catches his arm. Soon enough, Chi-yul decides to take Taishik on, thinking Jinwoo isn't strong enough. He asks Ju-hee to buff him, but Taishik laughs at him because he is a mage who wields a sword. Chi-yul takes a hit, but Ju-hee instantly heals him. Taishik gets annoyed, so he attacks Ju-hee. Fortunately, Chi-yul stops him and saves her in the nick of time. Taishik's speed is too much, and Chi-yul gets cut from all sides. Ju-hee tries to heal him, but she's out of power. Taishik thinks it's over, but Chi-yul quickly blasts him off with his magic. Taishik then prepares to finish him off, but Jinwoo suddenly pushes him back. Taishik doesn't believe that Jinwoo is just an E-rank, and he suddenly realizes who Jinwoo is, and suspects that he might have a second awakening. The two start fighting, and Chi-yul can't even believe how fast they're moving. They exchange multiple slashes, and Jinwoo's system activates, giving him a quest to defeat Taishik. He gathers his power, and he suddenly gets even faster. Taishik is hit by Jinwoo's poisonous dagger. This angers Taishik, so he uses his stealth ability against Jinwoo. Despite having a hard time dealing with him, Jinwoo manages to get by. Then, he attacks Taishik by tracking his bloodlust, and he's defeated in an instant. Jinwoo completes his quest, and acquires the stealth skill. Moments later, Ju-hee and Chi-yul thank him for saving them, and he tells them to get out of the dungeon while he finishes the rest. Soon enough, Jinchul arrives at the scene, and he's surprised to learn Taishik has been killing people in secret. His assistant leads him to the survivors, and he's shocked to see Jinwoo among them. When he asks about who defeated Taishik, Chi-yul suddenly claims that he was the one who defeated him. Jinchul cannot believe it, so he explains it was because he had a healer. Jinchul still finds it suspicious, but decides to accept it for now. Chi-yul apologizes for overstepping, but thinks Jinwoo must have a good reason for hiding his true power. Meanwhile, Ju-hee shows him the essence stone he gave her before. Ju-hee reveals that she's going to retire to stay with her parents and help them with the family business. She tells him to visit her during his free time and bid each other farewell. Jinwoo recalls that Jinchul warned him to be careful, because Dong-su is looking for him. Jinchul explains that the law is powerless against S-rank hunters, because they're too powerful. He advises Jinwoo to leave the country with his family, making Jinwoo realize that he needs to get stronger to defend himself. After some time, Jinwoo and Jinho prepare to raid a C-rank dungeon. Jinho assembled a strike team, explaining that he chose the useless hunters because they don't need to fight anyway. Jinwoo realizes that he recruited a miner, but Han Song-yi explains that she's qualified to work as a hunter. Not long after, Jinwoo tells the other hunters to wait outside while he and Jinho clear the dungeon together. It is then revealed that they will be paid 3 million each just to do nothing. Jinho confirms this, but also reminds them that they aren't allowed to tell anyone about their deal, or they need to pay him 10 times the amount. After an hour, everyone sees the two come out unscathed, and the dungeon has been cleared. Jinwoo encounters countless monsters during the raids, but he easily defeats all of them, allowing him to level up. Suddenly, Jinho receives a notification stating that he has reached the required level, so he can now accept the job change quest. At the White Tiger Guild, manager An Sangmin learns that someone spent 150 million to acquire the rights to the C-rank gates. His assistant tells him about the strike team, explaining that Jinho is the son of a wealthy businessman. Sangmin thinks he's crazy, so he looks into the team members, realizing that Jinwoo is one of them. He takes an interest in him because he believes that Jinwoo had a second awakening. He believes the only explanation is that Jinwoo has gotten stronger, so he decides to look for him. Sang finds Jinho's party, but Songyi tells them that the area is off limits. He then realizes that Jinwoo is trying to clear the dungeon without them, thinking he must be extremely powerful. Moments later, Jinwoo exits the gate and asks Jinho if he can take a day off because he has something he needs to do. Elsewhere, Jongin still gets a recurring nightmare about their failed raid on Jeju Island. Elsewhere, Jinwoo is approached by Sangmin to have a drink with him at a cafe. Sangmin reveals that he's from the White Tiger Guild, telling Jinwoo that they want to hire him, and they're willing to pay him twice the amount that Jinho is paying him. Jinwoo then asks Sangmin how much the White Tiger Guild is worth, which he reveals to be close to 50 billion won. Jinwoo then reveals that Jinho offers to pay him 30 billion won, leaving Sangmin dumbfounded by what he has heard. Suddenly, Jinwoo disappears using his stealth ability and interrogates Sangmin about how he learned about him. After Sangmin's explanation, Jinwoo tells him that he wants to keep a low profile and threatens to eliminate them if they write a report about him. Sangmin promises to keep his mouth shut, and Jinwoo spares his life. Soon enough, Jinwoo offers to sell 3 gates for 900 million won, but Songmin thinks it's too expensive, offering 600 million won instead. Before they part ways, Jinwoo heals Sangmin's cut in the face. The next day, Sangmin realizes that he has been scammed because there are other C-rank dungeons selling for less than half the price. He then receives a message from Jinwoo, telling him that they are now even for spying on him. Jinwoo then leaves the city and goes to a forest where he plans to complete the job change quest. The system gives Jinwoo time to decide, which makes him think the quest is going to be a difficult one. He enters the portal, and he wonders what's waiting for him inside. The dungeon is too peaceful, but the system informs him that he can't heal while he's inside. However, he can't leave until he has cleared the dungeon. A knight approaches him, so he equips his dagger and lands a hit. It doesn't do anything, so he tries using his skill to land a critical hit, but his dagger can't pierce through its armor, and he realizes that his weapon is useless against it. He then uses his bare hands to remove the soldier's head, killing it instantly. Elsewhere, Jinho eats dinner with his family, and his brother, Yu Jin-sung, tells him that he is aware of what Jinho has been doing lately. Back at the dungeon, Jinwoo uses his brute strength to defeat the knights, but he suddenly senses the presence of an assassin, realizing that they also have stealth skills. After getting attacked by a mage, Jinwoo suddenly realizes that the enemies in the dungeon are similar to the ones he fought in the past. He knows that dealing with them will be difficult because they have different weaknesses. Nonetheless, he still manages to defeat them all. As they drop armor items, Jinwoo decides to wear them, realizing that it's invisible and it doesn't restrict his movements at all. Upon continuing, he sees an enormous door, so he opens it, thinking he's about to meet the boss. He enters the throne room and senses a powerful presence as the knight commander named Igris the Blood Red appears. Jinwoo realizes that it's stronger than him, and it suddenly charges in. Jinwoo evades its attack, but it shatters the pillar behind him. Igris takes a swing, and Jinwoo tries to block it, but he sends him flying. Their fight continues to become one-sided in favor of Igris, so Jinwoo wonders how on earth he can win against him. Then, Jinwoo and Igris ended up having fist-to-fist fight. Elsewhere, Jinchul tells Gun-hee that Jong-in has made his move. Gun-hee then receives a call from Jong-in, who reveals that his group is ready to head out. Back to Jinwoo's predicament. Igris smashes him to the ground and throws him away. He endures a brutal beatdown and realizes that if it weren't for his armor, he would have already isekai in a new world. He then boosts his speed and uses his dash skill, then attacks Igris with everything he has. However, it manages to evade his attacks, launching him into the air and smashing him into the ground. Jinwoo refuses to give up, so he attacks Igris relentlessly, and he's able to hit his head, causing it to black out. Igris immediately recovers and it becomes enraged, delivering a devastating combo, sending him crashing against the wall. Jinwoo is exhausted, but Igris summons its sword to finish him off. Still refusing to give up, he equips his dagger and uses it to blind Igris, causing it to become stunned. As he smashes it against the corner, Igris takes his dagger, trying to use it to kill him, but it suddenly disappears because it can't change owners. Jinwoo uses it again and targets Igris's neck, attacking it with everything he has. The dagger pierces through it, killing Igris in an instant. The system then shows him his rewards, which include an S-rank helmet and a runestone, which allows him to learn a skill called the Ruler's Hand. Then, he wonders why Igris dropped a teleportation stone, thinking he has already cleared the dungeon. But portals suddenly appear as the system tells him to survive for as long as possible. It displays a timer, as countless knights emerge in the room. Jinwoo takes them on, but he realizes that there are too many of them. He tried using his stealth skill, thinking about hiding to buy time, but a mage casts a spell that could undo his skill. He's about to get hit, so he uses his murderous intent, stunning the knights, and he takes them out, but he realizes that he's running out of mana. He struggles to fight on, so he considers using the teleportation stone, but a knight suddenly attacks him, causing him to drop it. He gets sent flying and thinks that without the teleportation stone, the only way to survive is to keep fighting. He does his best against the knights, but his HP and stamina are so low that he can't even use his skills. Meanwhile, Gun-hee thinks the unfortunate event in Jeju Island is something they need to overcome, or else it will be the doomsday for humanity. Just as he is about to be finished by the knights, his penalty for not doing his daily tasks has arrived, and he gets teleported into the penalty zone, saving his dear life in the nick of time. While at the penalty zone, Jinwoo takes the opportunity to replenish his mana and stamina. He manages to defeat all the giant desert centipede monsters of the penalty zone. When he checks his shop for new weapons, he buys the Night Killer dagger, which deals bonus damage to armored monsters. He also uses the runestone he got from Igris, and gains the Ruler's Hand skill, which allows him to affect objects without directly touching them. His timer reaches 0, and he's sent back to the dungeon for round 2. Meanwhile, we see Jong-in's party preparing for another raid on Jeju Island, when suddenly they detect a strange mana source in the water. Jinwoo can now defeat the knights with his new weapon, but he feels something is off because he doesn't seem to be gaining any XP. Then, he realizes that the mages are necromancers, and they keep summoning the defeated knights over and over again. So he attacks all the mages, but the last 3 remaining mages work together, and they summon a giant golem. Nevertheless, Jinwoo feels very unstoppable, and he manages to defeat them all. He is also bestowed a new role as a necromancer. He thinks it's a waste, since it doesn't suit his fighting style, so he rejected it. However, the system wants him to be a necromancer. Upon accepting his new role, his advancement points exceed the threshold, causing dark energy to swell around him, and his class is upgraded to the Shadow Monarch. The job change is completed, and he starts to hear the voices of the knights. Then, with his command word arise, the knights stand once more and become his loyal minions. He failed 2 times, so Jinwoo tells Igris that he must have been waiting for his king's return, but genuinely asks him to serve him instead of guarding an empty throne. He activates his last extraction skill and successfully turns Igris into one of his soldiers. Elsewhere, Jong-in's party discovers that the monsters in Jeju Island have evolved as time passes by. That's it for now, but we'll be back with more solo leveling recaps when the new season releases. Thanks for your support. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe or leave a comment.